WOMTech, it's our goal to empower women, build businesses, and strengthen communities nationwide. And we thank everybody that plays a role in that, from our ambassadors to our directors, to our volunteers, and to our members. Thank you for continuing to make a difference across the nation. Now, speaking about going across the nation, the next guest I'm going to introduce you to actually was smart enough and wise enough to not only visit chapters throughout her state, but she was smart enough to take advantage of a couple of travel days to meet people in a different state to market and grow her business, and that's using WOMTech to the next level. So now, would you please welcome to the set the fabulous DeeToohey, dear friend, charter member of WOMTech. She's been a member since day one, and I'm so blessed to have her support. You may recognize her face because she has been on the back cover of Confident Woman magazine for, gosh, several years now, right?
It's probably about 3.5 years.
3.5 years, and we're blessed to have that contribution. And Kiki did tell me the other day, she's so excited about her magazine, she said, I'm going to keep the front page. You can tell Dee she can keep the back cover, but the front page is mine from now on. So Dee, thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you for having me here. I'm excited.
It's my pleasure. Well, tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you do for a living. Tell everybody, who you are.
I'm DeeToohey. I'm the broker owner of Innovative Realty Solutions Group. We're a local mom and pop real estate company here in Orlando. We are celebrating our 5th year. We're coming to a close of our 5th year in July of this year. We help people buy and sell and rent real estate throughout the Central Florida and Florida community.
Okay, now I know that you work with people across the nation. Tell everybody a little bit about your trip to Texas, and what was your marketing strategy for why you made that trip?
Well, I've worked with a lot of the girls on, by chatting with them on Facebook or talking to them on the phone. I actually got a referral from one of our WOMTech members in Texas, and we decided to take a trip down because Texas is on fire. Those chapters are huge, and those girls and guys are so exciting to be around. So I just wanted to take the opportunity and go down and network with them personally and meet with them, talk to them, explain how I can work with them, and find out how they can help me. And it was a lot of fun. Made some really nice friendships out of it, met some people that I didn't know prior to going down there. So it was really a worthwhile trip.
And how have you've been a member for 5 years, how have you benefited from being a charter member of WOMTech? What does WOMTech mean to you?
WOMTech has been amazing to me. I have made so many unique friends. I have partnered with so many different people. Just the connections, and like last year when I was ill and in the hospital, so many WOMTech members got on and played words with friends with me or chatted with me on Facebook, which kept me heavily amused. Just getting to know people, and that's so important in my business because I sell a product, real estate. You don't buy that every single day, so you really want to get to know the person that you're dealing with as a real estate professional, and a good way to do that is to just connect with people. And so WOMTech has enabled me to do that, and I've met some just terrific folks over the years, and I'm just thrilled with WOMTech and what it has helped me do with my business.
That's awesome, thank you. And I didn't pay you to say that, did I?
No, you did not pay me to say that.
I didn't even tell you I was going to ask that.
You did not even tell me you were going to ask
and
that.
I know you are the one that started our WOMTech Real Estate Facebook page. Before
Yes.
I thought of the idea, you approached me and said, is it okay? Can I do this? And I love the idea. A lot of realtors would view a realtor at a meeting, as stepping on their territory if they're the realtor that holds that chapter. Why do you not view other realtors as competitors?
There are a lot of real estate professionals throughout the nation. Everybody buys and sells property in Florida or knows somebody that buys and sells property in Florida. I don't look at them as a competition, but as a partner. And so for me, the WOMTech Real Estate Professional page is for realtors only that are a member of WOMTech, and it's a place for us to share ideas about our markets. And what I find really interesting about it is the things that I'm dealing with here are the same things that are going on in Atlanta, Texas, California, Arizona, Maryland, and all over our country. So it has been a great way to share what's going on. We're not really direct competition. We work together. If I list a house, someone has to bring the buyer. It may not be me, it may be another realtor from another state. So the ability to connect with real estate partners throughout the nation has been quite advantageous for me.
That's awesome, and I appreciate you for sharing that, because I think it is so important that people learn how to strategically work together.
Absolutely.
To share ideas. And I remember you sharing a story with me once about you had a house listed like in Claremont or something, and leaving Lake Mary to drive all the way to Claremont, even though it's Central Florida still, was like 2 hours away or something. It didn't make sense for you time-wise to go show that one listing, but pull in another realtor, a realtor that you know is going to be a WOMTech sisterhood, someone that believes in working with integrity and keeping their faith first, their family second, career third, somebody with ethics and things like that, which is important. So I think that that's something that everybody can learn from you, not just people in the real estate profession, but people in all professions throughout WOMTech, which is important.
Well, one time I was actually on my way out of town for a vacation, which is very rare for me, but I could not find an agent that worked for my company to show a particular property to a buyer, and it was my listing. I actually called another WOMTech realtor in the area and asked if she could go ahead and show the property, which she gladly did. It didn't result in a sale, but it showed her that I trusted her enough to go ahead and take that customer around to that actual property. And that's really how we can work together.
Absolutely. Now, if you had, before we move on to the nitty-gritty about the housing market and what it's done for the economy in the last few years, if you had any advice or suggestion to give to other WOMTech realtors that may be watching, because I give other realtors a suggestion as to what you would recommend to a realtor that's in WOMTech that's watching right now, how to make the most of their membership.
Connect with other realtors within the chapter, attend your meetings, tell people what's going on in the market. Also go ahead and work with other people within your chapter. Reach out for other partners like your mortgage professionals, people that do home inventories, your insurance professionals, your title companies, your attorneys. Everybody knows somebody that ultimately is going to be able to help them with that property. So don't be afraid to reach out to other people. Let people know what you can do and tell them that referrals are very important, and continually ask people to give you referrals, and you will get them.
Now, I know that everybody knows that, you know, with all the for sale signs and the short close signs and the foreclosure signs, and we all know, I don't know anything about real estate, but I know that in the last 5 to 8 years, the economy has affected, the real estate market has affected the economy. I don't think people get it to the degree that you were explaining to me earlier. So can you kind of give them an idea as to what does it mean when the home building industry stops? What does it mean when the housing industry suffers?
Okay, that's a very good question. When a house sells, the average sale, $66,000 goes directly into the local economy. Real estate professionals get money, mortgage people get money, title companies, insurance companies, but also buyers are going out and now making the house their home. So they're going to Home Depot, they're buying paint, they're buying lawn equipment, they're getting their lawns redone, they're buying furniture, they're making that home their own. Maybe they need a fence, maybe they want to add a pool. So $66,000 refreshes the economy for every sale that happens. And then the seller who sold it is possibly buying a new home or buying a boat or a camper and going about their business. So they're putting more money back into the economy from that end. So when the housing industry tanks, so do all the other industries, because people are making less money, they can't go out to eat as much, they don't go to the movies as much, and so it has this big spillover effect. When jobs get better, the economy gets better and people are out buying more houses, which fuels the economy in an upward way. So the downward and upward spiral goes both ways.
Absolutely. You know, I completely agree. And looking back to the photography industry, you know, I remember there being a distinct time when our clients were like, I'm not worried about a 20 by 24 portrait to hang above my mantle of my family because I'm worried about whether or not I'm going to have the mantle. You know what I mean? And it did affect even the photography industry. So I think we all need to understand that, you know, when a crisis like this hits our nation, it does affect the economy in a massive way.
Yes.
And it's not just about houses foreclosing, but the economy, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, right? So
there is a light
tell
at
us
the
what's
end of the
happening now.
The good news is right now there are a lot less foreclosures and a lot less short sales on the market. The average sale now is back to the traditional seller, like a real person that you can talk to without having to deal with a lender and all of the hassles that go along with that aspect. So that's a good sign for us. Nationwide, our sales are up about 24% over the last calendar year. Here in Central Florida, they're up about 22%. Our inventory is at an all-time low, so this is fueling our market. It's a struggle for buyers to actually find the right home, because as soon as we list a house, it gets multiple offers pretty quickly.
Okay. I know today we're going to focus on, okay, if you were affected by a short sale foreclosure, you know, your mortgage is in trouble, how do you recover? But we're also going to focus on what do you do if you're still struggling, or if you're just now, maybe it took longer for that cycle to hit you because of what you do, and you might still be struggling. What advice would you give, first of all, somebody who may see, uh-oh, there's a red flag, I'm using my credit card more than I used to, and I'm needing to, I'm going month to month. What suggestions would you give to them if that's the case?
Face it head on. Don't get in denial. Don't be ashamed. You're not the only one that has struggled financially in our nation. So reach out to the right professionals to discuss your situation. And every situation is totally different. If you sit down and you're honest and you lay out your financial picture, and the lender's threatening to foreclose on you, maybe we can offer you other suggestions like a deed in lieu or a short sale option, or maybe bankruptcy is the right venue for you. If you're not behind in your mortgage, it might even be refinancing that mortgage, and I know you're going to have a mortgage person here talking about that with you a little bit later.
So face it head on. I think that's really important. And you know, we had a conversation once at a restaurant a long time ago, and I was really torn emotionally because when we first started adopting, as you know, we purchased a house for my mom, and my father had passed away. Well, we counted on his Social Security to make a lot of that mortgage payment. And I remember chatting with you, and I remember just feeling this agony at the time, because how do you tell your mom, I'm sorry, you have to move out of your house. I can't do this anymore. We're giving your home away, the home that she thought she would eventually, you know, pass away in. How do you do that? And I remember you sitting across and I think talking to somebody that knows the industry, talking to somebody that can help you think not with your heart and with your brain. And that's exactly what you did, because you were like, you're making an emotional decision. This is not a practical decision. And when you spelled it out for me that, you know, you can keep that house for the next 20 years until she, you know, if she lives for 20 years more, you know, you can keep that house that long. But you showed me that it would be so hard to even begin to recoup the investment based upon what had changed. And I think not only facing it head on, but trying to not think emotionally with the decision, because we hold on. It's materials. You can't take the stuff with you, you know, and having enough faith that, you know, if you're not supposed to be there, God's got a better plan, and, you know, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and who knows what he might bless you with next. Would you agree with that?
I do agree with that. It's very difficult to make a very important financial decision when you're letting the emotions get in the way of that decision, and so many people do that. When we can pull the emotions out of it and just look at the numbers in black and white and think more logically, we can look at the overall picture and see what's the best solution. And sometimes it's selling, sometimes it's filing bankruptcy and telling the bank, here, it's all yours. It just depends on your situation, and you won't know what that is until it's laid out before you. So we look at it and say, well, I think we need to talk to our bankruptcy attorney, or we need to talk to a lender, or we need to talk to your bank. Many times, maybe the hardship is over and you've struggled through it, and maybe someone was unemployed, now they're back to working full time, and they can make the current payments, but the obstacle is the past payments that they were behind on. Well, we can go to the lender and discuss what's called forbearance, where they work out a solution to make up those past due payments over the life of the loan. And that lets them start from where they are right now without this massive past due amount sitting in front of them. Mm-hmm. So there are lots of options out there, but until it's discussed with the right people in the right setting and thought about from a logical perspective of what is in the financial best interest of the family overall, you just don't know.
Now, I know we're going to talk about mortgages with Laura in just a moment, but somebody that did give up their home, either through foreclosure or they sold it, or, you know, whatever they're renting now, what steps as a realtor would you advise them if they want to, you know, how long does it take to, okay, rebuild? Like, I have to do this, I have to do this, and I have to do this. What would you tell them as a realtor to get back into a home?
Right after that home is sold or bankrupted or whatever their situation was, whatever their solution was, at that point, day one, let's start from putting you with the right lending people to look at your credit report to figure out how we can help you rebuild your credit and set some goals for 3 to 5 years from now so that we can put you on the path of recovery and get you moving again. I short sold a home in 2008 from a young lady who actually came to me from one of our WAMTech attorneys as a referral, and I sold her home, and later she referred me to a colleague of hers, and I sold his home, and that was 3 years ago. Hers was 4 years ago. They're now buying a home together. So they actually sat with me and we showed them how to rebuild their credit and reestablish and get them on the right path. They did the hard work by doing that, and now they're ready to buy again, and that's fantastic.
So there is a light at the end of the tunnel no matter where where you're at, no matter what you're doing. Now, I do want to mention, a lot of you may be forced with a situation where you have to get out of your home really quickly. I know property management is a whole nother segment. We'll have to have you back for that for sure. But what would you recommend somebody that, is there anything that you would suggest somebody that has to get out of their home quickly? And tell me what's going on with rental properties these days.
Well, if you're a seller or an owner and you have a house and you have a great job opportunity out of town and you need to sell this property before you can move, and you're upside down in the property, or maybe just not enough money to make it worthwhile selling, or you can't sell it for whatever reason, one of the things we recommend that you do is turn it into a rental property, and then it becomes a business investment for you with a lot of tax advantages for that. So we put you with an accountant and we find the right tenant for you and let you go ahead and move, but you're making money, and maybe it's going to cover 100% of your debt or almost 100% of that debt. And then you can sit on the house until the market actually recovers a little bit more and you can go ahead and sell.
So I think the big message here is that we need to find solutions that find somebody that's knowledgeable enough to help you find solutions, and don't feel as though you're all by yourself. Don't feel as though, you know, you're just stuck with this burden, this heavy weight on your shoulders, because what ends up happening is that causes depression, that causes stress, and all of just sitting in there not knowing. The not knowing is what is more emotional than the, okay, these are my solutions. I've had somebody spell out my options, and now I can make an educational decision or an educated decision with that information.
The fear of the unknown and financial struggles are some of the most challenging struggles that any of us will ever face in our lifetime. If we know what our options are and we have a clear path to get there, it makes the whole recovery process a whole lot easier. The worst thing people can do is just deny that there's a problem or be embarrassed because there's a problem. A lot of times we don't want to admit that we're struggling financially. And I encourage people to get over that and to talk to somebody that they know and that has answers, because sometimes we talk to family members and they're giving us the wrong advice.
I've seen that firsthand, and I've referred people to you that have done that firsthand, that you know, they're not making a decision because they're listening to everybody in their family, and it ends up not being the best decision for their family, you know, for their personal family or immediate family, which is very important.
That's very important.
How do you have any advice or other suggestions in regards to this matter that you feel is important to communicate with the audience today?
Just keep aware. Know your options. That's very important. Work with full-time real estate professionals because they are working in the current market today. Sometimes we have some folks that are not as active in the market today, so they don't know all of the options that are available, and they don't have necessarily all the right contacts to put you into the right place so that the best decisions to make. It's not about me as a real estate professional making money. There have been many times, and you know this, where I have said, here's the best option, and it's not selling the house. So it's not that I have an economic gain invested in that, but it's about looking at you, the person, and making the best decision for you. I always feel that if my customers are thinking of themselves and I'm thinking of them and their money first, my money's always going to be fine. So for me, it's not always about getting a sale. It's about making the right decision or helping the customer lead them to that right decision.
I think you're exactly
100%.
right, and I've seen that time and time again with you, and you know, that creates a loyalty that, you know I can trust you. I know that you would be there for me. I know that you have our family's best interest in mind, and it's not just about selling a house. And I know because Keller Williams people, for example, realtors, we've got Kiki in Texas. We've got, well, Tanya is not with Keller Williams, but she's with Magnolia. She's a realtor. Gina Mounts is a realtor. We've got realtors make great WAMTech directors. Joanne Sassone from Boca Raton are all realtors. But what I've learned, and we've had this conversation many times, is there is truly a difference between a realtor that is a career realtor and a realtor that's a hobby realtor. And there's a big difference. So I do think you need to find someone that's doing it full time and not just, you know, showing a house every now and then, hoping to make a little bit of extra money for their family every now and then, because their knowledge and their level of commitment to the client, I think, is much, much bigger. So, and that's just a personal observation, you know, that I've seen.
Well, realtors actually go through more education and training and pay a little extra money to become a realtor as opposed to just a salesperson. The state of Florida licenses you, and then you can take that license and sell real estate, or you can become a realtor. In Florida, it's about 1 in 3 real estate licensees become realtors. and it's really important to know the difference between the two.
Well, that is awesome. I love your dragonfly, by the way. I just
Thank
noticed
you.
that. That's part of your logo, and you've got
It
the pin.
is.
It's perfect.
And my logo was developed by the great Diane Vivian.
Oh, our graphic
creative
designer.
Creative
yes.
artistry.
Well, as we wrap it up, I have one more question to ask you, because I think it's really important for people to know. You know, there's lots of things that can affect the housing market. There's lots of things that can affect your property, but there's also natural disasters that can affect your property. And we're going to talk to Tony in just a little bit, who's going to give us some advice on home inventory. But what do you know statistically wise about, you know, sinkholes, or like we've got hurricane season is starting up? What does a homeowner have to take into consideration when it comes to natural disasters like that?
Well, sinkholes are prominent all over the world, not just here in Florida, but we've had our share of sinkholes lately here. But even in other states in the U.S. like Texas, Pennsylvania, New York, Illinois, and Maryland have all reported sinkholes recently. Sinkholes are a natural disaster. They happen. There's nothing you can do to stop them, but you can look for the signs of a sinkhole, like cracks in a wall that are more serious than just a settlement crack. When in doubt, talk to somebody about that. Make sure you have the right sinkhole coverage. That's very important. In fact, if you go to our webpage, innovativeregroup.com, you can actually look at our sinkhole button and get some information on sinkholes. And it's very important for you to know that. Hurricane season is coming. It's a good idea to trim trees and things like that to keep your yard free of debris. If you are in the process of a sale, whether you're the buyer or the seller, a hurricane occurs, you're going to need another inspection, potentially another appraisal, just to assure the lender that the house is actually still standing and the roof is still secured. So keep these things in mind as we move through the season. It also has an effect on your ability to buy insurance coverage. Once we get into a hurricane system, they can't write insurance anymore. So it's important to get that done ahead of time, and a good real estate professional will help you through that as well.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Dee, so much for being here today.